Hi, I'm Darlene Larson, and I'd like to welcome you to my tutoring room. I'm excited to show you around and give you an insider's look as to what an online tutoring session is like. I use Zoom as my tutoring platform, which allows me to not only see and hear my student, but it also allows me the opportunity to share my screen with my student, giving them complete remote control over everything that I can do on my screen. This allows us to be involved in interactive, hands-on activities as we move through the tutoring lesson. As we begin each session, this is where we will begin. My student and I see each other on the full screen, giving us a chance to catch up with each other, and I can find out what my student has been involved in. But as I said earlier, I can also share my screen with my student. So let's continue the tour. The first shared screen that I'm showing you today is a program called Wizimo. It offers these colorful and movable tiles that allow me to offer a real interactive and kinesthetic kind of experience for my student as I teach a new concept. The lesson that I'm showing you today is one where I would teach a student to read and spell words with ending blends, like the word sand that you see on the screen. At this point in the beginning of a student's tutoring, I would want them to point to each sound and say each sound as they blend the word together. They could use their mouse like this, s, a, n, d, sand. They could move down the tiles a little bit as they say each sound, s, a, n, d. Or they could physically use their finger and touch their computer screen, saying each sound and blending the sounds together. I would have them follow the same procedure while reading a series of words, and then move on to have them do some spelling. Before they spell a word, I would ask them to repeat it. Like if I wanted them to spell the word mast, I might ask them to repeat mast, break that word onto their hand, each sound onto their fingers, m, a, s, t, and then bring down the tiles to spell that word, m, a, s, t. I could then have them change this word or build a completely new word. This lesson would continue with this manner, having them, again, spell some more words until I was sure that they had that concept down. And then we might continue on in many lessons to reading and spelling nonsense words with the tiles as well. After reading and spelling words with the colorful tiles, I would want my student to transfer that skill to reading words that are already in print. So then I would move to another element, another place within the Wizimo program, and have the student read some words that are already in print. Again, to make it a kinesthetic experience, I might ask the student to choose a color. Underline each sound as they say it, n, d, end, act, act. You'll notice that on this page I've included real words as well as nonsense words for them to practice that skill. After reading some words, I would want my student to also spell those words. So I'll then move on to a whiteboard program within Wizimo. Now my screen is changing here. And you'll see that there's now a whiteboard in front of the student. By choosing a color here and their mouse, the student could spell words. So I might ask them to spell the word jump, asking them first to break it into sounds, j, a, m, p, and then using their mouse to spell that word, j, a, m, p. If the student happened to have a touch screen, they could use their finger to spell that word on the screen. If the student's typing skills are advanced enough, they could also use this same screen to type those words. So there's a lot of opportunities depending upon the age of the student and their ability to type words, read words, spell words, and everything becomes very individualized for the student. After spending all this time at the word level, the student would advance into reading and spelling phrases, reading and spelling sentences, again, trying to involve as much interaction and manipulation and kinesthetic kinds of activities as possible. Sometimes I use other programs on my computer to give the student practice in their spelling of words and phrases and sentences that go along with the lesson that we're working with. What you see in front of you are some sentences that a student typed for me earlier this week. This student had just learned the rule that tells how to spell the k sound at the end of a one-syllable word. You will notice that in this last sentence, the words quick and snuck and snack all have a CK at the end of the word because the letter immediately preceding it was a short vowel. Whereas the words elk and desk have a K at the end of the word because there was not a short vowel in front of the k sound. So all the way from the word level to the sentence level, the student is practicing following the skills, learning the concepts, and getting a lot of hands-on practice in practicing that skill. The lesson then will then continue with reading some stories, and I often include extra things. I've created a lot of games that go along with each lesson. Let me show you some of those. This game board that I call 4 or More is one of many in this format that I've created to help to provide the additional practice that a student needs in reading words that follow the patterns of each of the lessons that I teach my students. This particular game board includes all words with ending blends that would then be played after the student has mastered that skill or been taught that skill, and the game helps them to develop the mastery that they need before they can move on to the next lesson. Let me show you how we play it. This game board is played, I shake a dice, and for example, if the student got a number 2, they could read any word in the 2 column, and then if they read it correctly, they get to grab that word, that box, as their own. So they might read the first word, elm, and if they've read it correctly, they can grab that box, claim that box as theirs. I, as the tutor, would play next, and when the dice is shaken and it's a 5, I might choose the word disc to claim as my word. Play will continue with the student grabbing more and more words. The next dice may come up as a 4, so the student may read the word just correctly. Not only is it a fun activity for the student to play at the end of a game, it also provides that needed extra practice in reading words that I, as a tutor, appreciate. And I know that it helps the student to develop the confidence and the skill in following this rule or this pattern that they've been working on in a way that is different than I can provide in any other way. The competitive nature of a game offers the student extra motivation to want to get the words correctly and will work extra hard to make sure that they're following the rules to read it correctly so that they can grab that box as their own. Let me show you another example of a game. This is an example of a game board that I might use with a student, again, to reinforce concepts that the student is learning within the lesson. This game board would be used after a student has learned the doubling rule for adding suffixes to a word. It looks like any other game board, and actually it plays like any other game board with game pieces that travel around the game board in response to words or the prompts that I type over on the side. In this case, if the student's first word is clapping, because they've just learned the doubling rule, they would know that the word clapping needs to have an additional P before the ing is added because this base word clap ends in only one vowel followed by only one consonant, and the suffix is a vowel suffix. So again, very specifically following the rules that I've taught them, the student plays the game and practices this rule in a game setting. The student would move to the first double, follow the arrow, of course, moving further ahead in the game. And the game would continue on with more words typed into the box on the side and moving taking turns moving around the game board. Again, just as I said, games provide so much more than just a fun activity to play at the end of a lesson. They provide that additional practice that's needed to provide confidence and skill in following the rules. And it helps me as the tutor to know that they've really truly learned the rule and can know it well enough to be able to follow it in other situations. Thanks for joining me today for this online tutoring demonstration. As you've just seen, online tutoring can not only be very beneficial for the student, helping them to learn the skills that they need to become a better reader and speller, but it can also be very fun and a great interactive environment between a tutor and the student. If you have more questions or would like to have a free sample online tutoring session in your own home, please contact me. You can find the information to call me or email me via my website. I look forward to hearing from you.